Imagine that feeling, take off, that big pushback in your seat, the runway blurring past, wheels up, climbing out. It's so routine, happens millions of times.
Yeah, absolutely normal for most flights.
Now just try to picture that climb stopping dead just seconds after leaving the Earth, and instead, a plunge. It's almost unthinkable, but that's what we're digging into today.
We are. We're taking a deep dive into everything coming out, the initial reports, what people saw, what the experts are starting to say, the official lines, all trying to piece together the horrific tragedy in Ahmedabad, India, June 12th, 2025.
Air India flight AI-171, that's our focus. A flight meant to go from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick, a standard route.
Done all the time.
But something went catastrophically wrong almost immediately. So our mission here is really to pull out the core facts, the key insights from all this information flooding in. We want to help you grasp what happened, the sheer human cost, and, maybe most importantly right now, those first crucial steps to find out why. And that really centers on finding the black box, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. That's paramount. Okay, so where do we start?
Let's set the scene. What kind of plane are we talking about?
Right. It was a Boeing 787-A Dreamliner. So a modern, pretty advanced wide-body aircraft. Flight number AI-171.
And the people on board, what are the numbers?
The latest figures we have indicate 242 people total. That's 230 passengers and a crew of 12.
And quite a mix of nationalities, I understand. Not just Indians.
That's right. Reports mention British nationals, Portuguese, Canadians as well. It really hits home how global these events are. And, these weren't just anonymous numbers. Someone prominent like the former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani was listed among the passengers.
So the takeoff itself, how did that look initially?
According to the early accounts, it seemed completely textbook. The plane took off from runway 23 there at Sardar, Vallabhbhai, Patel International Airport. The time was logged at 1:89 p.m. local time, India Standard Time.
You picture that climb out.
Yeah.
Powerful, steady.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's where it all went wrong, and incredibly quickly.
How quick?
The reports are consistent on this. Literally within moments, maybe 30 seconds after liftoff. That's it. The plane it stopped climbing effectively.
It only reached what altitude?
Just 625 feet. Think about that. 625 feet. For a plane like that, it's practically still on the ground.
Right.
Barely cleared the airport boundary, probably.
And then there were reports, chilling reports, about a radio call.
Yes. There are suggestions, accounts indicating the pilot transmitted something truly desperate. Words like no thrust, losing power, unable to lift. If that's accurate. I mean, it points to an immediate massive problem right at the worst possible moment.
So from that low altitude, 625 feet, what happened?
It didn't just descend. The reports say it nosedived.
Yeah.
And the impact, it wasn't in some remote field. It crashed directly into the mess hall building of the BJ Medical College Hostel. That's in the Meganagar area, very close to the airport.
Oh, God. Into a building.
Yeah. And the descriptions, they're just apocalyptic. A huge fireball, intense heat, reports of metal melting, just devastating.
Which brings us to the hardest part, the human cost. This wasn't just a technical failure, was it?
No, not at all. It's a staggering loss of life, just horrific.
The numbers are just brutal. Out of 242 on the plane.
241 didn't survive, but it didn't end there because it hit that building.
Yeah.
The police confirmed at least 24 people on the ground lost their lives too. People who were just in that mess hall.
Unbelievable. 241 plus 24.
Yeah. And amidst all that devastation, there's this one almost unbelievable story. A single survivor from the plane.
Really? From the aircraft itself?
Yes. Reports indicate a British national of Indian origin, they're apparently in Seat 11A, pulled from the wreckage, alive, and now fighting for their life in hospital. One person out of 242. The odds that are just astronomical.
It's hard to even process that. And the information coming out, it gives us these little windows into the lives that were lost, doesn't it? It makes it so real.
It does. Like, there's a young crew member, Patel, just 23 years old, apparently called her father minutes before takeoff. Just a normal call before work. And another crew member, Kambrela Paman Gantoy Sharma. Her family is now waiting for DNA confirmation, that agonizing wait.
And it stretches across the world, like Nirali Patel, the Canadian dentist from Toronto. She was 32, apparently here on a social trip. Her story highlights how families everywhere are suddenly dealing with this.
And then there's that almost surreal story, the near miss, Wumi Chauhan.
What happened?
She missed the flight by 10 minutes. Why? Ahmedabad traffic. Just everyday traffic saved her life. Reports say she was still shaking, realizing how close she came. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Traffic.
Wow. Fate playing out in the strangest ways. And on the ground at the college.
Total devastation for those students. Beyond the tragic loss of life among them, their hostel, their belongings, gone. Melted vehicles nearby. Their safe space turned into a disaster scene in an instant.
You see the wider impact to, like, the Indian cricket team?
Yeah, wearing black armbands during their match in Beckenham. A small gesture, but it shows that national sense of mourning, you know.
When something this sudden, this catastrophic happens, the big question, the immediate one, is just why? How does a modern jet fall like that right after takeoff?
Exactly. And that's where the investigation kicks in, hard and fast. And the absolute key always is the black box.
Right. Though technically orange, not black. Correct.
Yes, that's right. Bright orange, so they can find the thing in the wreckage.
Yeah.
And it's really two parts. The DFDR, the digital flight data recorder.
That's the data one.
Yeah, logs all the plane systems. And the CVR, the cockpit voice recorder, captures the audio.
And there was big news on that front very quickly, wasn't there?
Amazingly fast. India's AAIB, the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, they announced on June 13th, so within about 28 hours of the crash, that they had found the DFDR.
That's incredible speed. Where did they find it?
This is wild, reportedly on a rooftop nearby, probably the roof of the hostel building it crashed into, just lying there after the impact somehow.
Wow. So what does that DFDR actually tell investigators?
Oh, it's crucial. It records pretty much everything the aircraft systems are doing. Engine power settings, airspeed, altitude, heading, control surface positions like the flaps and rudder, hundreds of parameters. It stores about 25 hours of this data.
So it's like the plane's technical diary for its final moments, gives them the hard data?
Precisely. A second-by-second account of what the machine was doing. Now, the other part, the CVR.
The cockpit audio.
Yes.
Yeah.
That records the pilot's voices, any alarms in the cockpit, communications with air traffic control, the human element, basically, what was being said, what was happening in there. According to what we know now, that CVR is still missing. The search is obviously intense.
But having the DFDR is a massive first step. They can start reconstructing the physical sequence of events, what the systems were doing or not doing.
Absolutely. It's the foundation. And the investigation itself, it's a huge operation already, led by India's AAIB, but with a lot of support on the ground, over 40 staff from the Gujarat government helping manage the site, recovery efforts, that sort of thing.
And it's not just India, right? There's international involvement.
Oh, yes. Standard procedure for a major crash like this, especially involving an American-made plane. The U.S. NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, they're involved. Boeing is the manufacturer, is providing technical support. The UK's AAIB is also assisting, likely because it was a flight to London and British nationals were involved. And India's own DGCA, the aviation regulator, is deeply involved too.
So a global team really bringing expertise together.
Exactly. But even with finding the DFDR quickly, everyone's cautioning patience. Experts are saying decoding that data, analyzing it properly, finding and analyzing the CVR if possible, examining all the wreckage, it takes time. We might not have a definitive official cause for a year or even more. You can't rush this.
No, absolutely not. Precision is key. But given how it happened, that immediate loss of power, the inability to climb, people are already talking about potential causes, right?
Yeah.
Based on the initial picture.
For sure. Based on what little we know and expert experience, certain theories are naturally emerging. These are what the investigation will try to confirm or rule out with the hard evidence.
And the most obvious one seems to be linked to that reported distress call.
Engine failure. Yes, that no-thrust, losing power report points squarely at the engines. And given how quickly it happened right after liftoff, some experts are even speculating about maybe a dual engine failure, both engines having a major issue simultaneously.
Which would be catastrophic. And that detail about the landing gear possibly being down, how does that fit?
Well, if the engines lost significant power, having the gear still extended creates enormous drag, like trying to run with a parachute open.
I see.
It makes it incredibly hard for the plane to climb or even just maintain altitude, especially when it's already low and slow, like just after takeoff. It could explain why it stalled out at such a low altitude, like 625 feet. Some chatter even mentions things like a potential fuel delivery problem where the engine's starved of fuel.
Okay, so engine failure is a major focus. What else is being considered?
Well, early on, the Airports Authority of India apparently mentioned the possibility of a bird strike.
Can birds really bring down a big jet like a Dreamliner?
It sounds unlikely, but yes, especially during takeoff or landing when the plane is at lower speeds and altitudes. If multiple birds or large birds get ingested into the engines, they can cause severe damage and a sudden loss of thrust. It's a known hazard.
Right. What about the wings themselves, the controls?
That's another area experts are looking at, specifically flap settings. Flaps are those surfaces on the wings that extend to provide extra lift at low speeds. If they weren't set correctly for takeoff, maybe retracted too soon, or not extended properly, the wing wouldn't generate enough lift to climb effectively even if the engines were okay.
Mm. And then there's always the human factor.
Always. Human error is always on the table in any air crash investigation. Did the pilots make a mistake? Misjudge something critical in that high workload takeoff phase?
Right.
The sources do mention these were experienced pilots, which might make it seem less likely as a sole cause initially, but you can't rule it out. The CVR, if found, will be absolutely vital for understanding this aspect.
And finally, the aircraft itself, Boeing. This is significant for the 787, isn't it?
It really is. This is the first fatal crash involving a Boeing 787 Dreamliner since it started flying passengers. That's a major event. And, while the 787 has had other issues over the years, nothing like this. The sources do note that there have been past whistleblower allegations about manufacturing standards on the 787 allegations Boeing denied, but this crash inevitably puts a very bright spotlight back onto the aircraft's design, its manufacturing, its maintenance history. All of that will be scrutinized intensely.
So multiple possibilities right now. Engine failure, bird strike, flap issues, human error, or something related to the aircraft itself.
Exactly. And it could even be a combination of factors. These are just the initial theories. The real work is digging into the data and the wreckage to find the actual evidence.
Stepping back from the immediate why, what are the bigger implications here, particularly for aviation in India?
India's aviation market is booming. It's one of the fastest growing in the world. An accident like this, well, it's a massive shock to the system. It's an unavoidable wake-up call. You can expect intense scrutiny of safety procedures across the board. India's regulator, the DGCA, will almost certainly review regulations, possibly tightening things up based on whatever lessons come out of this.
And for Boeing, as the manufacturer?
Huge implications. Accountability is a key question. What the investigation finds about the plane, its systems, that could have major repercussions for Boeing,
Right.
especially being the first fatal 787 crash.
And the financial side, compensation for the victims' families.
Yes, that's a significant aspect too. Air India announced an initial figure, about 1 crore Indian rupees per victim, which is around 120,000 US dollars. But under international rules, the Montreal Convention, which governs international flights like this one, the minimum liability per passenger could be higher, maybe up to 1.4 crore INR, according to some reports.
So the total payout could be enormous.
Potentially huge, yes, running into hundreds of crores of rupees. It underscores the massive financial as well as human consequences.
And the public reaction. What are you seeing in the coverage?
It's a real mix, as you'd expect. Obviously, immense grief, anger, a lot of uncertainty, and unfortunately, you also get speculation, even conspiracy theories starting to bubble up online. But overriding all that seems to be this deep hope, this need for the black box data, for the official investigation, to deliver clear, factual answers, to separate what really happened from all the noise.
Okay, so where do things stand right now?
Right now, the key piece of technical evidence, the DFDR, is secured. It holds vital clues. The International Investigation Team is assembling and starting their work. But answers, real confirmed answers, will take time.
And while that technical investigation unfolds, we have to remember the core of this story. It's just a profound human tragedy. 265 people lost their lives. Families in India, the UK, Canada, Portugal, completely devastated. Communities in Ahmedabad impacted directly on the ground. The search for why is critical, but it's driven by that immense loss.
Absolutely. And maybe that leaves us with the biggest question moving forward. As this investigation digs deep and eventually reveals the specific sequence, the precise cause of this incredibly rapid, catastrophic failure, how will those findings change things? Not just for Air India or Boeing, but for global aviation safety. What unexpected vulnerability, what chain of events will this tragedy force the entire industry to confront and learn from? That's the crucial lesson we're all waiting for, hoping it can prevent anything like this ever happening again.